It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And this is a request that came through the Discord server that's now in beta. The patrons and people who supported one-on-one Leanna Care sessions got advanced access to a Discord server we're working on to coordinate various things and just sort of create a community. And they've been really good about uh, making suggestions and making it better. There have been a lot of improvements, but I've been doing that instead of working on the Zelda video. And then Monday was Yom Kippur. So didn't really feel right working. Also, no eating, not good for brain. I'll do the help support this channel and then get into the topic. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK, or support our men's groups that are going to be organizing through the Discord. GoFundMe, link in the description box below. So the thing about Yom Kippur is it's supposed to be about reflection, but it always makes me really, my tolerance for BS gets at low ebb. And a combination of factors happened yesterday that made me decide now's the time to talk about this. One was the request from somebody on the Discord. We are looking, by the way, to open that up to people who would like an invite middle of October-ish. We were originally going to launch sooner, but there were so many suggestions that we wanted things to settle a bit before leaping in because there were a lot of changes, which is good. You know, feedback's good. But also what you probably saw happened in Canadian politics yesterday, that the world went crazy because President Zelensky from Ukraine was in parliament. It was a big rah, rally the troops, Ukraine. But there was an 98-year-old man who is a Ukrainian Canadian who served with Ukrainian forces in World War II, and the Speaker of the House, who is party affiliated, always has been, but is independent and doesn't coordinate, or is not supposed to coordinate with the Prime Minister's office or other MPs, supposed to act independently. But he called him, a hero and asked everybody to applaud him. Of course, everyone did. It turns out the Ukrainian military, the Ukrainian forces in question in 1943 were Waffen SS. Oops, Nazi. And this became a big thing. And everybody started screaming and all this stuff, and it just felt like the entire world turned into a bunch of Karens. And coming right off of Yom Kippur, I think that's part of the reason I was cranky about this, because this is not serious. This is people looking to embarrass Trudeau because he's vulnerable and taking a cheap shot to do it when most people, quite frankly, I know, care more about the cost of food and rent and interest rates for people's mortgages and so on and so forth. Gas prices are back up again. But this was a big deal because it's easy to yell Nazi, Nazi, shame, shame. It's hard to be an adult and go, yeah, this was grandstanding, gone wrong. He's 98 years old. You couldn't find somebody who did great things for Ukraine any earlier than the period where they had to choose between Stalin and Hitler. Really? And this is when I realized, and like, I shouldn't feel this way. I should care. I should be all up in arms because it was stupid. I mean, you'd think they'd run up, but none of that stuff is going to come up on a basic check, right? Unless you know history, you're going to take the narrative given to you, and it's complicated, and it blew up in their faces. And should anybody be surprised? No, because we live in the era of Karens. Apologies to anybody actually named Karen. I really think we need a another word for this because it is a real thing, right? It's people, it's a particular type of feminized rage and bullying, which is why I put it on Wellness Wednesday instead of Feedback Friday. Sorry, instead of Manly Monday. Um, Even though it came through the Manly Monday channel on the Discord, which will be open to open eventually, middle of October. But this is someone who is angry, judgmental, and looking to pick a fight. And the thing about Karens is they hide behind some sort of false fear or moral high ground to make it very difficult to counter. And unfortunately, the best thing to do with a Karen is say as little as possible to them, which, when you work in customer service, sucks because you can't give them what they want because what they want is unreasonable. And yet, you have to, especially if you've got a shitty boss that doesn't take your side, you have to give them a good experience when they don't want a good experience. They want someone's head on a platter. And that's why the whole thing in Parliament just felt so Karen-y. Because for people who don't know much about the Liberal Party, which is our centrist party, because Canada, um, they love to throw people under the bus. Somebody sneezes wrong and people start calling for their resignation. The Liberal Party historically does tend to blink, jumps on the bandwagon, condemns the person, and they don't realize that 20 years ago, yeah, that was normal, but now you, unless something's truly egregious, you have to stand by your people or they will never stop coming at you this way. And this was embarrassing, but it wasn't corrupt. And other than giving some Russian propaganda machines a cycle, um, that's all it did, which, hey, even before this, Russian propaganda was insisting that Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and Zelensky, President of Ukraine, had sex at the Royal York Hotel. That's what they were running before this. So if they don't have something real, they make it up. And that's the thing about Karens as well. If they don't have something real, they'll make it up. They'll say they felt attacked or they felt harassed or they felt threatened or something feel. And that's the thing about dealing with Karens. No matter how many facts they present, it's a completely emotional response that really has nothing to do with you. It's just an easy target. And the worst consistent Karens in the world are the gender criticals or trans exclusionary radical feminists. Now, I'll call them gender criticals because, again, if they think TERF is a slur, all right, I don't need to use that word because gender critical is just going to come to mean TERF. Trust me. I'm what used to be a liberal, used to be a progressive, And one thing Karens love to do is demean you by saying you're not the right kind of something or you come up short. And that is why I am so not connected to labels, especially when it comes to identity, because I know who and what I think I am, but I don't get too attached to it in public, because the minute somebody finds out something is important to you, they will Karen all over that shit and tell you you're bad at it or try to take it away. And it's very easy to do that with trans people, because gender science is really poorly understood and people think they know more than they actually do. And all they'll find is one person with letters after their name. It may not even actually be their field of study, but they find one person with the equivalent of some sort of PhD, and that's it. That's the only one they'll listen to, not the thousands of experts who actually work directly with transgender people, including transgender youth, which say, no, there is something real here, and, we have to find treatments for it because these people are suffering. And that's the thing. Karens love suffering. Karens want people to suffer. And that's the thing to keep in mind. The more you argue with them, the worse it gets. And the more words you use, the more you're likely to make one tiny little mistake that they will never let you forget forever. And so most of the time when I encounter Karen, I'll either say as little as possible. If I think someone is actually a potential threat, like that their stupid accusations might stick, I just block them right away on social media, and I say as little as possible to them uh in you know in person, and just get away as fast as I can, because there is no winning with Karens. They cannot be reasoned with, because they don't want to be reasoned with, because there is no reason. The minute reason is enforced in an attack of Karen, they have no power anymore. The entire leverage behind a Karen, it's not just an obnoxious person. It's an obnoxious person who has some sort of, I'm going to come right out and say it, kind of white suburban power dynamic. That's the first time I saw the term Karen was on Black Twitter. They leverage the fact that they are respectable and they've never been spoken to like this in their life, and that's why I apply sort of the tactics of Karening to men as well, even though it's primarily a feminized phenomenon, because I've had, well, people claiming to be guys on social media and then actual guys in real life. I've never been spoken to like this before. And usually the way they're being spoken to is with an expectation that they are an adult and with some accountability. And it's that offense, that outrage, that really distinguishes a Karen. And the important thing to realize is it's not real. That is super important to recognize. It's not real. And so appealing to any sense of logic, trying to discuss facts with them, ain't gonna work, because their principled objection, legitimate concerns, sincere fear is not. It's all about the emotion. It's all about something inside them that they can't face, so they are displacing and projecting it onto someone they think has to take it. And if you engage with them, they will always turn you into the bad guy, turn you into a threat somehow, which is why I do it with the gender criticals, because the fact that they keep slapping, somebody who was born with, the proper anatomy, slapping me on a list of dangerous people. Well, that's proving that anatomical women can be dangerous. Whoops. Whoopsie. See, that's the only way you can defeat a Karen, is if you can basically out Karen them. But that requires me to take some knocks, because some people may believe I'm legitimately horrible, I'm legitimately dangerous. It's ridiculous, but in this case, I don't care, because I do think that when something is really wrong like this, like just profoundly wrong on a gut level, people can't stand on the sidelines. You have to step up. And I just rather they demonize me than some poor trans person who, may just have gotten on hormone replacement therapy, or is having, profound thoughts of suicide, and both of those, dysregulate emotions. So yeah, pick on me. That means they're not picking on those people. But normally, if it's a job, if it's an online thing, especially in private, and you get a Karen, the best thing to do is say as little as possible and walk away. And that might mean walking far, far away out of whatever group it's in. If you've got a boss that doesn't have your back against Karens, look for another job. Or at the very least, ask a supervisor what the policy is for abusive customers, because they should have one. A lot of stores, it's just, get the manager and let them deal with it, because that's what higher level of training, higher level of pay, they can make decisions that you can't. But whatever you do, don't give in to their demands just to quote unquote keep the peace, because it's not really peace. It's bullying. And people shouldn't have to take it. I am glad whenever I hear that a boss stood up for an employee against somebody like this. I am horrified when I hear about situations where people did not stand up for their employees. Person to person, in my opinion, if there is a ton of Karening in various groups, there's a problem with the group, especially online, but in person too. And if you talk to the people organizing the group and they won't do anything about it, the best thing to do is leave. Because those people are looking for people to get muck on. They are looking for a villain of the week, because there is something inside them that will not allow them to feel okay unless they've exploded in rage at someone just because they can. And if you take it and stick around, they will do it again and again and again, because they know you'll take it. But fighting with them just gives them what they want even more, because then they can screen grab something or record something or run to someone. And unfortunately, too many people just side with whoever gets to them first with a tale of woe, not wait to hear both sides. So they're real great at running to some authority figure. And so fighting them only gets you labeled the bad guy, which, like I said, is why I do it with gender criticals. But the best thing to do is just get far, far away, because there are communities that don't allow that. And it's best to seek out those communities instead of staying in ones that do. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who uses it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK, or help fund the men's group via GoFundMe. Thanks for watching, and be well.